After just 10 seconds without oxygen, your brain begins to lose optimal function. After 60 seconds, irreversible cellular injury can begin. By 3 to 5 minutes, survival without permanent damage becomes increasingly unlikely. Oxygen is not simply air. It is the final electron acceptor in the process that powers every cell in your body. So what actually happens, neurologically, metabolically, and systemically, when oxygen supply is cut off? Every second, your body consumes oxygen to produce ATP, the molecule that powers cellular activity. This process occurs inside mitochondria through oxidative phosphorylation. Without oxygen, this system collapses almost immediately. The brain is especially vulnerable. Although it accounts for only about 2% of total body weight, it consumes roughly 20% of the body's oxygen supply. Unlike muscles, the brain stores almost no oxygen. It relies entirely on continuous delivery through cerebral blood flow. When oxygen levels drop, a condition known as hypoxia, metabolism shifts. Within seconds, neurons begin switching from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic glycolysis. Anaerobic metabolism is far less efficient. It produces only a fraction of the ATP and generates lactic acid as a byproduct. As lactic acid accumulates, intracellular pH drops. Cells become acidic. After approximately 10 seconds without oxygen, consciousness may begin to fade. Cerebral electrical activity becomes unstable. Vision narrows. Dizziness develops. By 30 seconds, many individuals lose consciousness completely. Heart rhythm may initially continue, but the brain is already under severe metabolic stress. After 60 seconds, ATP stores become critically depleted. Ion pumps embedded in neuronal membranes begin to fail. These pumps normally regulate sodium and potassium gradients across the cell membrane. Without ATP, sodium floods into neurons while potassium leaks out. Water follows sodium into the cells, causing cellular swelling, a process known as cytotoxic edema. Calcium begins to accumulate inside neurons. Elevated intracellular calcium activates destructive enzymes that damage cellular structures. At approximately 2 minutes, widespread neuronal injury accelerates. Excitotoxicity occurs. Excessive glutamate is released, overstimulating receptors and allowing even more calcium to enter cells. This creates a cascade of cellular self-destruction. By 3 minutes without oxygen, the risk of irreversible brain injury rises sharply. Neurons begin undergoing apoptosis or necrosis depending on severity. The hippocampus, critical for memory, is particularly vulnerable. The cerebral cortex also suffers early damage. At 4 to 5 minutes, permanent brain damage becomes highly probable without immediate resuscitation. However, survival time depends on several factors: body temperature, baseline health, circulatory efficiency, environmental conditions. In cold water drowning cases, reduced body temperature can slow metabolic demand and extend the window for potential survival. But under normal conditions, the margin is narrow. Meanwhile, the cardiovascular system attempts to compensate. If oxygen deprivation is caused by airway obstruction, blood oxygen saturation rapidly declines. The heart initially increases rate in an attempt to circulate remaining oxygen more efficiently. As hypoxia deepens, arrhythmias may develop. Ventricular fibrillation or cardiac arrest can follow if oxygen supply is not restored. Other organs also suffer. The kidneys require oxygen for filtration. The liver depends on it for detoxification and metabolism. The myocardium requires it to maintain contractility. But the brain fails first. Even when circulation is restored after several minutes, reperfusion injury can occur. When oxygen suddenly returns to previously deprived tissue, reactive oxygen species may form in excess. These molecules can further damage cellular membranes, proteins, and DNA. Thus, injury continues even after oxygen is reintroduced. There are documented cases of individuals surviving longer than expected without oxygen under special conditions, particularly in hypothermic environments. But these are exceptions, not norms. Under standard physiological conditions, irreversible brain injury typically begins after approximately 4 to 6 minutes without adequate oxygenation. The human body is extraordinarily resilient. It can survive days without food. It can survive several days without water. But without oxygen, survival is measured in minutes. Oxygen is not merely a resource. It is the foundation of aerobic life. Every heartbeat, every thought, every muscle contraction depends on a constant supply. The real question is not how long you could survive without oxygen. The question is, how fragile is the balance that keeps every cell in your body alive every second? And how many minutes would it take before that balance begins to collapse?